All right. See if anyone's on here. Thanks, Bern. I saw you posted the link. All right. We'll wait a second, see people show up. Let me see why chat's disabled right now. I don't know why it is. I'm still messing around with this. I don't know. I don't know why it says chat is disabled for this live stream. All right. I'll figure that out later. All right. I'll just, if you guys want to ask me questions, I got the Discord up so you can type away on there. All right. 5-minute chart here. What's up, buddy? Okay. Sounds good. All right. Let's start with the 15-minute time frame. Okay, so we're still within the range, and you can see the PD array right here. So we came down and we hit right around this 62 retracement area. Um, this is the sell side liquidity that ICT was talking about today on Twitter. And you can see this chop in this 15-minute time zone is just kind of ridiculous. Um, Sorry, I'm getting an echo from my own YouTube. Okay, so here we go. This is the chop that we're in right now. But let's go back to the London trade this morning, which happened right in here. So for this current range, here's the PD array. Premium up here, and here's our levels of premium. Okay, I ran the fib tool from top to equilibrium, and it's giving me levels within the premium area. And you can see that we've hit this up here, came all the way down because they got a great deal, came back down into discount. And then our last New York session, we got above the 62 retracement. And then in this London sesh, we hit the 50% retracement about. So you can see how it gets up here, it comes down, comes back up, not as high, drops down. This is more like equilibrium, but just on the other side of equilibrium. And then comes back up for a 50% retracement almost. And then it's going to look to come back down into discount. So we kind of had these equal highs in the Asian session. And then there's something, there's actually like a 5 minute fair value gap in here that's very interesting that kind of carried through past this wick. And I'll show you that right now. I'm going to go to the 5 minute time frame. Okay. So over here, there's like this almost like a imbalance when it says you have like these long candles that create this kind of pattern straight across to where it needs to come up into. I kind of found that interesting that there's this 5 minute gap right here, and then it kind of includes this. And if you go straight across, we actually rejected in that 5 minute gap in London yesterday, or actually, I think that might have been, no, I'm sorry, that was into New York. We rejected that 5 minute gap right here and really rejected out of there. So that was kind of interesting because I was watching that area and I saw it reject out of that 5 minute gap. I didn't take it, just watching and taking notes. So then if I extend that 5 minute fair value gap out again, I mean, that that's pretty fucking amazing to me. Like that's I need to figure out why this is. All I can tell you is that I noticed it for this. We have this down candle and this up candle, and it creates like it needs to still balance this area. I forget what episode that is, but I remember seeing it, and so I can't really describe it that well. But that entry point right there, I was like, shit, fucking worked. So then, anyways, going into London sesh, man, look where it gets up into. It takes out this high, gets right into this fair value gap, and but it has a nice balance this time. It it comes up into it and it comes straight back down. And this to me is completely balancing this area now because you don't have chop through it where it was only offering different sides. You have a nice up candle and then a down candle. Okay, so the London trade, that takes us to the London trade. So we get up, we get into this area and we have this break of high, all right? Price quickly runs away. What do we have right here? We have a nice break of structure and a market structure shift. So then we have these three down candles. Price continues to move away, and then we should see it retrace up into this area right here. Let's go red. There we go. Okay, so I captured the both these candles only because this looks like there's a little bit of a volume imbalance right here. And so then it gets right above this candle. I mean, just barely, you can see it above the line. And right there, and then boom, here we are. So, I mean, this is a bread and butter setup. We hit a higher time frame point of interest. We broke the high back there. It was 5 minute fair value gap that came all the way across. We balanced it. We came down, break a structure, and then now we have a market structure shift. We come back up into this fair value gap area, and then price immediately runs away. And it gives you one more opportunity in this candle to get in. But this was your best entry, and then price immediately runs away. uh, you have what appears to be this bearish order block that gets put in, and then boom, price runs away again, down, down, down. And that brings us into the New York session. Um, right before New York, again, we have this up candle, shake people out, and then down again. And then this has just been this kind of chop getting lower, and now we're almost into a consolidation right now. And if you notice, where did we reject at the start of the New York session? Basically at equilibrium. So we came from an area of premium, and we come down to equilibrium, we break below, back up, and then now we're working lower. And then the target, I think we'll probably see this in the PM session, um, but this 62% retracement area in our discount array. So that's where we're at. That's the London trade that happened at what time? 8:10, 8:15. So for me, that's 5 a.m., 5:15. I had my alarm set for that time, but I didn't get up. It's okay. Like I said, I'm telling you guys, this is another, look how many points this is. You get in, you set it right here. We're just right above this fair value gap. You're at 38.77. And if you take it to New York, that's basically a 25-point move. Like you have three ES cons on that 25-point move, and you're almost at, you're like 6K right there. So, oh, what's up, Tesseract? I know, sorry guys, I'm not a YouTuber, so I'm learning all this stuff from scratch just so I could help people out. Um, but I'm gonna take I'm gonna write down all these notes that you guys are typing up so I can get better and better. I didn't know that there's all this stuff that if you like markets for kids, it won't do this, it won't do that. I figured I'd put it for kids so my kids could watch this later, but I'll just have them look at my account. Um, it, any questions? Anything else you guys want me to go over in this chart? Let's see. Let's draw this out a little more. Let's see. Lucky 7. Where'd you mark your PD array high and low? Okay. We'll go back to let's go to a 1 hour chart. Okay. So I talked about this in the last video, but this day we had right here was a huge range day. It was an outside bar. Okay. We've been doing nothing but consolidating within this range for the past week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And so that's where I set my premium array. So I take the high and the low that this day formed because we haven't broke out of it. So this PD array is going to be my compass for everything that happens within here. So here's the equilibrium. And if you draw a line, you can see where my cursor's at. You can see how price works up and down through the PD array. And you can see where it takes buy side liquidity, comes back down, takes sell side liquidity. You can see where it reverses from those areas. You can see where it retraces to. You can see where it expands out of order blocks. And now I have levels to this PD array by running my fib tool in here. So for this one, I just take it from the top and I come all the way down to equilibrium. And now that gives me an equilibrium point of the premium PD array, and for this down here as well. This gives me an equilibrium point for the discount PD array, and it gives me levels of retracement within the discount and within the premium. And so now I have areas of confluence of when I see things like this right here, well, that was dead smack in the middle of the 62% and 79% retracement. And this came up and hit the 79 and took out all this liquidity. Bravo, sometimes I go to the 1 minute, and I think that's part of just the process of learning and testing things. But oh, this thing's cruising up right now. But I think you can find your best setups on the 15 and 5 minute to find your entries, but 5 minute entries are pretty good. There are times where it's like a 1 minute entry. And so if I know that there's an area, like, let's see, let's go to, let's just go down to a 2 minute chart. Okay. All right. So if I'm looking at entries, here's 5 minute chart. If I'm looking at entries, like this 5 minute chart right here, there's like no entries. Maybe this right here, maybe this order block, or where it came back above here, but I don't see any good setups other than if it came back up here, which it has not. So then I guess you could go down to your lower time frame and see, okay, well, what does the 1 minute chart present me with? And again, these, like ICT was saying, this price action, like the structure of it, is not clean. Like, here's an order block. You take this as an order block, and these prices don't even come up into it, but you have this intermediate swing high, and then this just comes up above, takes out that liquidity, and then drops down and takes out all this sell side liquidity. I mean, there's little things that you could try, but what's above here? There's no fair value gap right here in the 1 minute. You can include this because it as your order block, and I guess you could say, okay, well, it came up and touched the order block from right here and use that as an entry. But to me personally, why trade this when, like I said earlier, just wait for the bread and butter setup? I mean, the London short was, look at this. Even you could have even gone to the 1 minute time frame, put your entry right above here, and here's a bigger gap right here on the 1 minute. And look at that. I mean, you get the smallest drawdown. So this was the bread and butter move today. This is just price action that I'll study it just to see how it reacts. I'll always check high points and low points and see where they line up at. Like if I take a look at this high point right here, and it comes right back to this order block, which is kind of interesting because this broke it. So it's like the price remembers certain things, like ICT says. It comes back to it later, but how do you know where it's going to come back to? Look at this again, where we just hit right above this high, right into that order block, and now we're going lower. So where's it going to go? We have equal lows right here. I mean, I guess you could see this trade, and you could look to take this short, but again, how do we know it's not going to come back to right here? Look at that, and then go higher because you have this down and then this up, and it's breaking up. You have that like break of structure right there. And we could go to even smaller time frame on the 30-second, and you'll see like fair value gaps pop up. Um, so, Mr. Black, answer your question. I go from a higher time frame down to a lower. So, if you were looking at London setup, then I would start at the 15. 15 is where I like to find setups. 15 is where we had this nice move right over here. It was beautiful. Got up there and quickly rejected away. So if we look at the 15-minute chart, we have this 15-minute candle that wicks down right here. And to me, that's a clear sign that price is running away. And then it even comes back down here. So I would go on a lower time frame, and from the 15-minute, I would go down to the 5-minute time frame. And then you saw in the 5-minute how this was a perfect setup. And you saw on the 1-minute how you could have an even greater entry. However, you don't know if it's going to go that high or not. So that's why ICT says play it safe. Just take your entry at the fair value gap, put your stop loss above that fair value gap, and you might incur some drawdown. But if the setup is right, I mean, we took out a high right here. We're in an area of premium. Took out equal highs right here, so it looks like a good short setup. The risk to reward is good right there. Who knows? It could be wrong and it could go all the way up here. That could happen. And then you just learn from it. Not every trade is going to be a perfect trade, but you have to keep trading the high probability setups so that you get confident to take them. And that's the only way that you're going to build up to be able to take these trades with as many cons as ICT does. I mean, think of how much drawdown you would incur if you had a 10 to 15 ES con trade. It starts going against you, and I've had some trades that's gone against me with like 5 to 6 contracts, and it's like you're down 1,000, 1,200 bucks, and you're like, oh man, it starts to get a little hairy. So as far as the time frames go, I always top down analysis. If we're in a range, I usually go from the 1 hour and just see where everything's at. So I'll get my overview. One hour. Let me look at the big picture real quick. Where have we gone? Where have we came from? Where does it look like we're headed? Looks like we're making lower highs in this premium area. So we should start testing some of the discount area. So that's why this is a high probability setup. And then you just start going to the lower time frame. And then just go to 15. And look at the session. What did the Asian session do? It consolidated. Cool. What did London do? It went down, it broke the Asian low, and then quickly ran away up. So we're looking for, if this is power of 3, we got our midnight open. So this is the true open. We mess around, consolidate, manipulation. Okay, that's the wick of this daily candle. And then boom, expansion. And now are we distributing, or are we going to come down here, distribute, and then come back up for close? Open, high, low is to be determined, close. And so that's what we're looking at. We're taking all these things into consideration. Let's see. Yeah, so Abby, lower time frames, you got to be careful, man. Anytime you start getting into the 1 minute, the only time I get into those like smaller time frames is like let's say we take out liquidity on one side, like non-farm payroll. Let's say it takes out liquidity somewhere. The entry to go short or long, wherever it takes out liquidity, it might be on like a 1 minute 30-second time frame. It might give you that because the market's sneaky. They're not going to give us obvious setups all the time. So, but you just got to be careful with the smaller time frames. If you're on a smaller time frame, just know that you're not looking to take a more than a 10 handle move. Just give yourself that, like, hey, this looks like a good setup on the 1 minute. I'm going to take 5 handles and get out. Give me my 600-700 bucks and I'm out of here. And be cool with that. Those are little account builders if you're looking to take those trades. I think for myself, I've done that in the past, and those are fun because they add up over time. But at the same time, I feel like I want to learn to just be more patient and really identify the bread and butter setups that are going to give you those 30 to 50 handle moves. And London was it today, so that's cool. Again, like I said, you get 5 trades a month that are 30 to 50 handles, and look at what happens when you size up over 3 years. That's being really conservative too. I took the calculations based off of a 30 handle move. Let's see. Let's go, kids. Oh, that's funny. I know it's hilarious because you want to know what's even funnier is I went to my 12-year-old daughter and I was like, hey, come show me how to set up all this YouTube live stuff. That's pretty funny. I'm a blue collar worker, bro. I wish I knew this tech stuff better. I'm gonna try to learn. I can learn the market, but learn how to do all this streaming and set it up and all that stuff. I never really got into that. So, but yeah, it's pretty funny. I'll figure it out. Like I said, I take all your guys' feedback and I'm gonna mess around and try to get it better. Let's see any other questions. Let me go back up here. As far as it being recorded, yeah, I can once it's done recording, it stays on my channel. Let's see. Yeah, as far as time frames go, always top-down analysis. Just get in the habit of that. If we're not in a range, then you got to look at a higher time frame analysis. So we're lucky that we're consolidating on the daily. This consolidation in this like daily pattern is like it gives you so many setups. It's actually I like it. It's money. Um, but yeah, once we break out of this range, then guess what? We're gonna have to start looking at our PD array top-down analysis from a 4 hour or a daily time frame. What's the high and low of the 4 hour chart? What's the swing high, swing low of the daily chart? And then just work your way down and find points of interest. Set up your PD array for that. Um, how how do I think I learned ICT so well? Yeah, Uki's in the house after getting his ski on all day yesterday. Area looks dope, by the way, bro. That's pretty cool. I gotta take the family there sometime. I think I don't know, man. I just went through those videos, and this stuff is so fascinating to me. It's like like I was doing options before this, and before options, I was just like trading the market, like buying stocks in bunches, buying low and selling high. I mean, 2020 was a kiss, right? Like once COVID lows hit, it was nothing but up from there. So it was like taking candy from a baby. Like you could basically throw your fucking money at any stock in the market and you're gonna double and triple it. So my dad and my grandfather had always invested in the market, so they kind of like showed me or taught me like, hey, take money that you earn from working and make sure that you're always putting in the market to invest because over time you're going to see a return on your money. So I knew about the market from an earlier age, but like I said, as I got into options, I was like, okay, well, let me see how I can make money in a bear market. So I was like, oh, options. Okay. You can make money whether it goes up or down. Um, and that was a challenge, man. Like, I don't know what it was, but like, I'd have weeks where I'd do like really well. And then I'd have weeks where I just like tank my account and it'd get so frustrating. Um, and so I don't know how I stumbled. I think, I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, you follow Wealth Bra, but he started talking about ICT, and then I noticed that Uki was starting to talk about ICT in the Sadie chat, and so I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, this is starting to pop up, and I kind of like brushed it off, and then I was like, you know what? Let me see what this is all about, and so I started with the 2022 content, and it was kind of like I don't know, it was kind of like whatever to me. Like it was like interesting, but I'm like, all right, there's got to be something like before this. So then I started scanning ICT's YouTube channel, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Day one, basics. Like give me the foundation of trading in this market. And the way he just talks about like how specific the market works and how again, I just did like a 45-minute lesson with my kids last night on 2016 core content, video number one, the element of a trade setup. Like, do you know how powerful that is? That's the key to the ATM. The element of a trade setup. There are only four trade elements that happen in the market, and they repeat over and over and over again. So, what is it that I need to know? I need to know those four trade elements. I need to know them like the back of my hand. I need to know when they're going to happen, why they're going to happen, and what are the key indicators that are going to trigger one of those to happen. And then, boom, what does he give you in that same video? Guess what? Trade element 1 through 4 is paired up with these key indicators. And so he goes into detail. And every time I listen to that video, just listening to it last night, I picked up something again. And I was like, oh man, that's interesting. I didn't pick that up the 4 other times I've listened to that video. And so to me, like that was his original content to his private group, okay? That's him giving people content that are paying him. What do you think's going to be better? You think he's going to go all out and give you the keys to the Lambo if you're paying him to use it, or the free stuff? And I guarantee you that almost all the stuff you need to know to be successful is going to be in that 2016 core content. That's my personal belief, and that's probably what I study the most because I think he gives you what you need to know. And if you really dig deep and if you really try to understand and if you really back test, I did a lot of back testing too. Like I'm telling you guys, I spent hours watching these videos and I would watch them. And as I'm watching them, I would pause and I would just back test in the market and I would look for it. And I'd say, okay, where's an area of consolidation? All right, let me measure this area of consolidation. Does it run away at equilibrium? Crap, it does. Okay, let me test another area of consolidation. Does this area run away at equilibrium? Oh man, it does. Okay, expansion. Where'd the expansion come out of? Oh, it comes out of an order block. Amazing. And every single thing that he says on the element of a trade setup is 100% accurate. So then it's just figuring out which element it's going to be. And like he says, where did price come from? Where is it going? And where is it at right now? And then the PD array, that was like the next thing that I was like, okay, um, this is something that I really got to focus in and learn because your PD array is everything. That gives you the context as to why price moved the way it did. Like if we look at this PD array that I have on my chart, price moved down because it was in an area of premium. So it wants to deliver price at a discount. It's as simple as that. It always wants a deal. The banks, the central banks that run this algorithm, it's a wealth extraction system. So they're going to always get the best deal because they created the algorithm per ICT. So they're always going to look to get the best deal. And like he said, you just wait for the market to show its hand. And it's going to do a lot of messing around up and down, playing with all the retailers' minds, getting you emotional, getting you to bite one direction. But like ICT says, how many easy to read trades are there a month? He says there's one a week. I think there's more. I think where we're all at right now in this room, I think every one of us can identify two really good trade setups a week. And if you're taking 3 ES cons on those setups, you're going to be making 25K to 40K a month. Guarantee it. So to me, that's what I'm trying to dial in, and that's kind of where I'm at now. So my goal for myself is, and I know you guys see it too. You can see all these trades because the trade elements are fractal, right? Like all these trade elements, if it happens on the daily, it happens on the 1 minute and every time frame in between. So yeah, you can find these setups on a 1 minute. You could take it, and that's at one point I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna find every single setup and I'm gonna take it on all these time frames. And it's like, well, why? Why sit in front of the screen for that long, and why be constantly engaged in the chart when I can wait for a 5 minute or a 15 minute setup and make 5 to 10 really good trades a month, and my bank account's going to appreciate me. So keep studying the PD array stuff, guys. I think that's the key to all this as well. Like the PD array gives you your bias. Okay, these are the things that I have on my whiteboard. So top-down analysis is number one. Got to start with the higher time frame, work your way down. Number two, I have is the elements of a trade. So I got my 4 elements of a trade. Which one am I looking for? What is the market giving me? 3 is PD array. If I can see these trading elements, how do I know which direction they're going to go? PD array is going to give me that bias. It's going to give me context as to which direction price wants to head. So those are the top 3 things that I think that if you can master, you can easily find trades and be successful. That's that's how I'm attacking this, and I still watch all the other videos. I still try to pick up things because that dude provides so much information. It's insane, and it's like I don't want to be okay at like 10 of the things that he talks about. I want to be really good at the foundational stuff, and then I will keep adding and trying to become better and better. And the goal for me, honestly, is to be able to scale up. Like I want to be so confident in the trade that I can just say, boom, 10 contracts. Here we go. Let's do this. That's the goal. So, all right. Uh, what do we got coming up? Let's see. Are you using alerts so you don't have to sit in front of the PC while trading, or are you locked in? Um, Again, I am decided to just choose a time to trade. So my time that I'm choosing is going to be like uh, 8 o'clock New York to the beginning of the lunch session. So basically, yeah, 8 to 12 is where I would like to take my trades at. I feel like that. I feel like trading those hours, I can look at the night before. I can see what the structure is doing, and in the morning I can wake up and see where it's been all night and make a pretty good like bias as to where a trade setup might be. And again, I want to look for things that are obvious and take those trades. Um, I've watched 2016 the most is where I constantly go back to. 2022 I've watched that, and I've watched quite a bit of the other ones. I've probably watched about 90% of his stuff. Some of it I like playing while I'm diving into the charts, so I'm not like super engaged, but like I'm listening to what he's saying. Um, but yeah, that's everyone has to figure out what works for them. I always tell you guys that like what works for me might not work for you, or it might work for you, but find out what works for you and then do it, master it. Like Assface, that dude slays it with zero DTE SPX options. I can't do that, but that dude has mastered that, and that's pretty fucking awesome. So I got to find out what I can master and become successful at, and that's what every one of us has to do. All right, I'm gonna head back to the forum. I'll answer any questions on there, but all right, cool, thanks.